What's up guys, Lab Rat back here in the studio. Today we're going to be discussing Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, quite possibly the most powerful adaptogenic herb on the planet. Before we get into this, little disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do not consume anything without first speaking to your physician or doctor. But we're just going to dive right on in here. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is also commonly called Jiaogulan tea, and it's also commonly referred to as poor man's ginseng. So Jiaogulan, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, is used traditionally in China and Vietnam. It's commonly referred to as the miracle herb, and there's many other herbs in Chinese and Ayurvedic medicine that are considered miracle herb, but this one in particular really does earn its name. So there's 30 varieties of Gynostemma throughout the world, and it mainly resides in China, Thailand, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Korea, and New Guinea. The one we're going to focus on today is Gynostemma Pentaphyllum. Its history is rooted in China. It originated from a village in South China located in the Fanjing mountain region of the Guizhou province. In this village, they didn't have common access to Camellia sinensis, the common tea plant, so they used Jiaogulan as a substitute. This herb grew so abundantly in the area that they consumed it daily, often 5 times a day. Now, for the longest time, this village had unprecedented numbers of centurions. A centurion is a person living beyond the age of 100. So this had always been a miracle zone for centurions, though they weren't able to exactly pinpoint what was causing this. The cause was unknown. However, the use of Jiaogulan was adopted by surrounding villages and surrounding provinces, such as the Sichuan province, also the Guangxi province as well. And shortly after the use of this herb became common practice in these regions, the levels of centurions went up as well, and life expectancy also followed as well. So this alarmed the medical sciences, and eventually scientists from the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences were able to connect the dots, and they attributed this longevity to Jiaogulan. So how was it popularized? Well, the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences were able to attribute longevity to this herb. It was then added to Chinese medicine. However, this herb was kind of a late bloomer in Chinese medicine history. It then became commonly used and prescribed in China. However, it didn't really become popularized among the rest of the world until the 1970s. Japanese scientists were studying sugar replacements and natural sweeteners. They were studying things like monk fruit, they were studying stevia, and various different natural herbs that could be used as a sugar replacement. And Gynostemma Pentaphyllum was one of these herbs. They were studying it because it's got a natural sweet flavor to it. It's got this really delicious flavor to it, unlike many other herbs. Now, it fell short in terms of sweetness when compared to stevia. Stevia was the dominant herb in that study. However, they were pleasantly surprised to find there was much more to this herb than its mere sweetness. And in fact, what they discovered, they basically opened Pandora's box and found the nearly unlimited amount of benefits that this herb had to offer the human body. And in fact, they were so fascinated by this, they built an entire university dedicated to studying this herb. And today, we now have over 200 studies on Gynostemma Pentaphyllum Jiaogulan, and over 50 of those studies were in humans. It is now often referred to as the poor man's ginseng because ginseng is very expensive. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is inexpensive, and also they're finding it might be even better than ginseng. And we'll go over that in a little bit. So, inside Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, what gives this herb all its power? Obviously, it's filled with nutrients such as vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. It's also filled with plenty of phytochemicals such as flavonoids, polysaccharides, and saponins that give this herb its power. Everything in conjunction goes together in creating quite possibly the most nutritious food you could put in your body. So, Gynostemma has a broad range of phytochemicals and nutrients within it. The vitamins and minerals within Gynostemma Pentaphyllum include zinc, selenium, magnesium, calcium, iron, potassium, manganese, phosphorus, nickel, molybdenum, cobalt, strontium, and copper. And we'll go over that. Zinc, it's a natural aromatase inhibitor, so it inhibits the conversion of testosterone into estrogen. It's It's also a very powerful immune system modulator. One of the best vitamins you could take for your immune system in combating viruses. Magnesium. Magnesium's obviously very, very important. Sodium is the electrolyte that causes your muscles to tense and contract. Magnesium is the electrolyte that's responsible for the muscle to release and expand. It also contains potassium, another very important electrolyte. Manganese, which manganese has been shown to increase LH and FSH, which has a downstream effect of producing testosterone. So it'll increase your natural testosterone production. So a whole host of vitamins and minerals there. And as for amino acids, the amino acid profile of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is phenylalanine, which is a precursor to dopamine. Isoleucine helps with muscle recovery. Methionine, valine, which is good for muscle pumps and muscle recovery. Proline, tyrosine, which is also another precursor to L-dopa and dopamine. We have aspartic acid, histidine, arginine, which is good for muscle pumps and nitric oxide synthesis. Lysine, glutamic acid. So, as you can see, it's got a broad range of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. So, we're going to jump into the phytochemicals. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is jam-packed with phytochemicals, natural antioxidant compounds, such as flavonoids, polysaccharides, and saponins. So, the flavonoids in Gynostemma Pentaphyllum are polyphenols. The polysaccharides are complex carbohydrate compounds, and they have very powerful immune modulating effect, and it's a very impactful effect on improving your gut flora and microbiome in your gut. We'll go over that in a minute. But then there's also saponins. Saponins are adaptogenic compounds, and this is kind of the powerhouse of Gynostemma, are the saponin content within it. We'll get into that in a little bit. First, we're going to go through the phytochemicals. Here's a list of the phytochemicals there. We got carotenoids, got chlorophyll compounds, ombuine, we got caffeic acid, melatonin, itexin, and 3,5,3-trihydroxy-7,4-dimethoxyflavone. Flavonoids. What are they? Flavonoids are a type of polyphenol. They're commonly found in fruits, vegetables, grains, barks, roots, stems, flowers, tea, and wine. Essentially, when you hear people talk about red wine being good for you, a glass of red wine a day keeps the doctor away. Essentially, it's polyphenols that are giving the red wine its beneficial effects. So the polyphenols within red wine are really good for your body. However, there's plenty of other sources of polyphenols as well that don't contain alcohol, such as dark chocolate. Polyphenols are what give it its color. Polyphenol-rich foods tend to have a very vibrant and robust color to them, such as blueberries, pomegranates, many vegetables as well. It's all contain a large amount of polyphenols in them. And polyphenols, essentially what they do is they feed the healthy gut bacteria in your body. So they're food that only the good bacteria in your body eats. So ultimately, what happens when you feed the good bacteria in your gut biome and starve the unhealthy bacteria in your gut biome, it has an impact on the kinds of foods you end up craving. And in fact, that's why gut biome and having a healthy gut flora is so important in terms of weight management and just all-around health, because it's what takes the willpower element out of diet and nutrition. Because instead of having to struggle going uphill, making yourself diet and eat foods that you don't like eating, when you fix your gut flora, you will naturally crave those foods that are healthier, that used to not taste so good for you. In fact, it will make those foods taste good. So essentially, when you're craving bad foods, that's the gut biome. Your gut bacteria is influencing your brain, making you crave those foods, making you crave the foods that they want to eat. And when you start implementing healthier foods, these super polyphenol-rich foods into your diet, what that does is it begins feeding the healthy bacteria, which then they signal to your brain to eat more and more of that. And eventually, foods like dark chocolate, red wines, rich cheeses, foods that have these super bitter, rich polyphenol flavors to them, you begin to crave those foods as opposed to deep fried chicken and foods that are just destroying your body. So it's extremely important to get polyphenols into your body to start the process of feeding the proper bacteria. Probiotics are great. Probiotics are very important to implement into your diet, but what they're finding is actually even more important than probiotics are these prebiotic foods and fibers. These prebiotic starches and fibers such as polyphenols that are feeding the good bacteria. You aren't just what you eat, you're what your gut eats. The foods you're feeding your bacteria essentially has a snowball effect on your future decisions when it comes to diet and nutrition. That's polyphenols for you. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is jam-packed with polyphenols. Now, the flavonoid content within Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, there's rich levels of quercetin, ambroside, albumin, isohamantine, camphorol 3O-rutinoside, quercetin, ramohexoside, isohamantine 3O-rutinoside, rutin, quercetin dihexoside, camphorol ramohexoside. Now, we get into polysaccharides. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is rich in polysaccharides, and again, polysaccharides are another form of healthy prebiotic carbohydrate and fibers. Polysaccharides are prebiotic polymers that are essentially a complex carbohydrate molecule made of long chains of monosaccharides. And what they do is they're very powerful immune system modulators. They have anti-tumor properties. They're antithrombotic, so they have an antiplatelet effect, much like aspirin. Anticoagulant, they've got an energetic element to them where they'll increase ATP production. They're anti-mutagenic, anti-inflammatory, they're antiviral, antimicrobial. They'll help fight the negative bacteria while also feeding the good bacteria. Very powerful prebiotic, and yeah, super important. There's different types of polysaccharides. Essentially, polysaccharides are carbohydrates formed by long chains of repeating units linked together by glycoside bonds. They can either be in the form of a starch, of a cellulose, or a glycogen compound. Now, the bioactive polysaccharides within Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, we have GPP1A, GPP2B, GPP3A, and we have PGSP as well. Now, let's get into the saponin content. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is extremely rich in saponins, and quite frankly, this is what gives Gynostemma the majority of its benefits. What are saponins? Saponins are chemically heterogeneous groups of steroidal and triterpenoid glycosides. Glycosides are compounds that contain a sugar molecule, a glucose molecule, and when you consume it, your gut bacteria eats that sugar molecule, essentially cleaving that glucose molecule off of the compound, leaving behind an often active steroidal or triterpenoid compound with various benefits to your body. So saponins have a whole host of benefits. Some of them include lowering blood lipids, lowering cancer risk, lowering insulin resistance, inhibiting dental caries, so they've got dental health as well, inhibiting platelet aggregation, mild diuretic, hormone modulation, immune system modulation, antioxidant, skin health, anti-aging, kidney support, heart support, liver support, and gut health as well. This is just some of the hundreds of different benefits saponins have to offer. There's many different types of saponins, so we're going to get into that. Essentially, saponins, much like polysaccharides, are glycoside compounds. Again, what that means is it's a non-sugar compound with one or more sugars combined to it through a glycosidic bond. When glycosides break down, the glucose-containing particles are absorbed by the bacteria in the colon, and therefore it's not absorbed into the bloodstream and affecting glucose levels in the body. So essentially, these glycosides, even though they do have carbohydrates in them, the carbohydrates are absorbed by the bacteria in your colon and do not have an insulin response in your body and do not raise blood sugars. That's where this plant gets its sweet flavor without having a caloric impact on your body, much like stevia. It's the same with stevia. Stevia gets its sweet flavor from the glycoside compounds within it. Now, the amazing thing about these glycosidic compounds within Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, many of them have hormonal and neurotransmitter structures to them. So once the glucose is cleaved off, you then have an active hormone or neurotransmitter that can be absorbed and passed through the blood-brain barrier and used by the brain and the body at your body's own discernment. So there's plenty of different herbs that have saponins within them. We have astragalus, got ashwagandha, ginseng, rhodiola rosea, hundreds of different herbs that have these saponin compounds within them. The saponins within Gynostemma are called gypenosides. Just to give you some context, ginseng for thousands of years has been revered as the immortality herb and was for the longest time in China and Korea. Ginseng has been considered the most powerful and healthy, nutritious superfood you could put in your body. And because of the host of benefits and ability to preserve life, there actually have been multiple wars fought in Korea and China over this herb. Ginseng is such a powerful herb that there have been wars fought over the regions where it grows because the kings and emperors revered this herb and they wanted to live as long as possible to therefore keep their dynasty running as long as possible. And this was their main tool for that. And they were willing to go to great lengths, even going to war over this herb. The saponins within ginseng are called ginsenosides. Ginseng gets the majority of its power from its saponin content. And ginseng has over 30 different saponins within it. Now, contrast that with Gynostemma. Gynostemma is a new herb in Chinese medicine. It was used by smaller villages, but China as a whole did not recognize this plant until very recently. Ginseng has over 30 different saponins within it. Gynostemma has 120 different saponins within it. So, quite frankly, Gynostemma is over 4 times more powerful than ginseng. It has over 4 times the amount of saponins within it, and they continue to find more and more saponins every year as they study this plant. So, that should give you a little bit of context of just how powerful this plant is. Ginseng is extremely expensive, especially for the aged ginseng that has the higher saponin content. I've seen ginseng in the Asian markets running above thousands of dollars. And that's because they're aged and they have this high saponin content the longer it's been aged for. Gynostemma is extremely affordable. It's about the same price as a green tea. That's where it gets the name ginseng at a green tea price, or poor man's ginseng. Gynostemma has more saponins than any other herb discovered on this planet. Here's a list of the most powerful gypenosides within Gynostemma. These gypenosides are unique to Gynostemma. And here's a list of saponins within Gynostemma that aren't unique to Gynostemma, and they exist in other herbs as well. It shares some saponins that are also ginsenosides within ginseng. You can see there's a whole list of different saponins that you could also find in other herbs as well. But Gynostemma just has such a wide range of saponins within it, and there's so many saponins within it that are unique to Jiaogulan. So we've talked about what gives Gynostemma its power, and that leaves the question, what is Gynostemma's function? What does it do? One benefit of Gynostemma, it tastes really good. Unlike many other herbs, Gynostemma's got a very good flavor to it. It tastes really good in combination with other herbs. It's really good too with other herbs that are a little less palatable and make them go down smoother. Yeah, it's just got that really nice sweet kind of stevia-like flavor to it from the gypenosides. So it's a 0-calorie sweetener. Doesn't cause any insulin spikes whatsoever. Just a very good sweetener and sugar replacement. Now, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, it's a caffeine-free energy. It causes adaptogenic energy, meaning it energizes you when you need it. Adaptogens are often, they're very energizing when you need them, but then they've got a calm, soothing effect without sedation also when you need to relax as well. It's very versatile and it works with your body. It gives your body the tools, and your body uses the tools that it needs in that moment. If you need mental focus or you need to energize the body, it'll do that. But also if you're getting ready for bed, it'll help with that as well. So Gynostemma is something that you could drink to start your day in the morning as a coffee replacement, but also it's something you could drink right before bed as a bedtime tea as well. It's extremely versatile and it works with you any time of the day. And this is why in the Chinese Guizhou province, they would often drink it 5 times a day. So all throughout the day, there's not a cut-off time for you to stop drinking it. You could drink it all day. So increases endurance, a meditative state of mind, helps with mental focus, it's calm, soothing, and it's energizing as well. Here's a little study showing the effects of polysaccharides of Gynostemma on anti-fatigue. Has a very powerful anti-fatigue effect. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is extremely powerful for insulin sensitivity. So what it does is increases your body's susceptibility to insulin. So often our cells become insulin resistant. In our modern diet, with all the high levels of high fructose corn syrup and sugars in our diet, this increases our insulin resistance. It makes so that your pancreas needs to produce more insulin to get the job done of shuttling carbohydrates and proteins into the muscle and storing carbohydrates and fat for storage as well. So when your body becomes resistant to insulin, your pancreas needs to produce more insulin to get the job done, also increasing insulin resistance. So it's just kind of like a never-ending cycle of your insulin resistance will continue to go up as long as you're consuming these high glycemic foods and especially high fructose corn syrup. So the nice thing about Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is it begins the process of reversing that, and it will actually lower your insulin resistance. So it takes a load off your pancreas and prevents and even reverses type 2 diabetes. It increases your metabolism, increases glucose uptake, lowers blood sugar, and increases human growth hormone. Because the less amount of insulin you have in your body, the more human growth hormone you will have. Human growth hormone production is halted by the presence of insulin. So when you lower your insulin resistance, you lower the amount of insulin needed to be produced. Therefore, the lower insulin in your body, the more human growth hormone can be produced, which obviously human growth hormone has its own host of benefits, such as fat burning, energy, build strong muscles, skin, hair, and nail health, sleep benefits. Human growth hormone gives you overall general appearance of youth and reduces fat in the process. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum improves insulin sensitivity in type 2 diabetic patients. Here's a study showing its effect. And interesting thing is, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum was, in this study, it was measured up against a placebo tea, which for the placebo tea, they actually used green tea, the common Camellia sinensis tea. And the interesting thing is, even though it's often touted that green tea has these benefits of reducing insulin resistance as well, in this study, it showed not to really be effective in that case. It showed green tea actually didn't have much of an effect, if any at all, at reversing insulin resistance. In fact, in some cases, it actually increased insulin resistance. So that's one thing that's interesting there. But as you can see, the Gynostemma Pentaphyllum side, it shows Gynostemma Pentaphyllum was able to decrease it from 8 all the way down to 5 or almost 4 in some people. It measured the fasting plasma glucose levels. Green tea had little to no effect at all and actually increased plasma glucose in some people. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum had a pretty significant decrease in glucose in just over the course of 4 weeks. So that's pretty profound there. Here's a study showing the anti-diabetic effect of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum. Insulin sensitivity is lowering your insulin resistance, increasing your insulin sensitivity, is naturally going to have a profound effect on weight loss. And in some cases, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum was measured up with strong pharmaceuticals such as metformin. Adaptogen is an extract of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, and it was shown that it may be effective in treating obese individuals. Moving on here, we're going to get into blood pressure regulation. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum improves blood pressure, and it has an adaptogenic effect on this as well, meaning it'll raise your blood pressure if it's too low. It'll also lower it if it's too high as well. And its ability to lower blood pressure was proven as effective as certain blood pressure medications. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has very powerful antiplatelet effects, and antithrombotic effects of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum shows obviously it's going to increase blood flow, it's going to have pain relief effects, it's going to increase pump and vascularity, and increase circulation as well. And this is definitely something you notice, and it's actually one of the few side effects of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is it could have an effect on bleeding if you do get a cut. Even if you get a little mild paper cut on Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, you will just bleed and bleed and bleed. It's very hard to stop the bleeding, and that's one negative effect of it. That antiplatelet effect is so powerful, your blood will just flow very thinly. That's negative if you get cut. However, if you're careful and you don't get any cuts, this antiplatelet effect is actually extremely beneficial as it'll increase the blood flow, and increased circulation has been shown to have profound effects at minimizing risk for Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and dementia. since ultimately these diseases are caused by a lack of blood flow to certain parts of the brain. So, and it's got a very powerful vasodilation effect. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is a very powerful heart tonic. So it decreases cardiovascular inflammation, improves cardiovascular function, such as the pump of the heart, improves blood pressure, prevents cardiovascular disease, including atherosclerosis, lowers LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and increases HDL, which is the good cholesterol. So here's a study of it showing its effectiveness in lowering LDL. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is widely used in the treatment of various cardiovascular disease, including atherosclerosis, as well as cancers. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is effective at enhancing lipid metabolism, lowering LDL levels in the plasma, and here's a study of it showing therapeutic mechanism of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum in conjunction with atorvastatin in hyperlipidemia rats. So it'll actually improve the effects of atorvastatin. Here's a study showing its effectiveness in decreasing low-density lipoprotein levels in the plasma, that's the LDL levels, and it also had an effect at regulating ketone body metabolites. Now, we're going to get into mitochondrial and cell cleanup. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is effective at stimulating AMPK. Now, AMPK is basically your body's self-cleanup mechanism, meaning it's going to stimulate autophagy, which is ultimately the cleanup of the cells. It's the body's way of recycling and replacing old, damaged, and dead cells. And it recycles the dead cells and burns them up as energy, allowing new healthy cells to grow. Now, AMPK is also responsible for mitophagy, which is the body's way of recycling and replacing damaged mitochondria. Now, mitochondria is the base level bacteria within your body that provides your ATP production. Basically, all your energy comes from your mitochondria. And if you can recycle the dead and damaged mitochondria and replace them with new, vibrant, healthy mitochondria, it'll improve your body's natural energy levels. Now, AMPK is also responsible for xenophagy. Xenophagy is the replacement of intracellular pathogens with new cells. So replaces pathogens within the cells with new cells. So AMPK is one of the most important functions in the body when it comes to longevity. Now, Gynostemma's got a powerful antioxidant effect by increasing levels of endogenous antioxidants such as superoxide dismutase and L-glutathione, which both are the two most powerful antioxidants in the world for your body. More powerful than vitamin C, more powerful than vitamin E. These antioxidants are more powerful than any other antioxidant, and they're natural within your body. Gynostemma is going to increase the endogenous levels of these antioxidants. So it'll increase the production of superoxide dismutase. That's the enzyme that alternately catalyzes the dismutation of the superoxide radicals into ordinary molecular oxygen and hydrogen peroxide. Superoxide is produced as a byproduct of oxygen metabolism, and if not regulated, causes many types of cell damage. So, superoxide dismutase prevents free radical damage, and it also prevents cancer as well. So yes, Gynostemma has anti-cancer effects, and it improves the effectiveness of cancer drugs. Here are a couple studies showing its effectiveness, increasing the effectiveness of 5-FU, fluorouracil, in chemotherapy of colorectal cancer. So it's a powerful adjuvant for medications with colorectal cancer. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum kills cancer cells within the lung. So the damarine-type saponins within Gynostemma induce apoptosis in human lung carcinoma cells. Apoptosis is essentially the suicide of the cell. So Gynostemma causes the cancer cells within the lung to commit suicide. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum can prevent and reverse liver cancer. The polysaccharides within Gynostemma were shown to be a safe and effective supplementary agent for the treatment of HCC, hepatocellular carcinoma. Plenty of anti-cancer properties to Gynostemma, just another reason to add this herb into your diet. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has a very powerful anti-inflammatory effect. It counteracts the effects of nuclear factor kappa B, NFKB for short. NFKB is a protein transcription factor, and it's considered a regulator of the innate immunity. NFKB is essentially what signals to your immune system that there could be a pathogen or toxin invading your body. And the way it sends a signal is it causes inflammation in the body to draw attention to that part of the body. And this allows your immune system to respond and attack the foreign invader. Unfortunately, by doing this, often there's collateral damage and your body takes a hit as well. Also, many times this pathogen signaling pathway could be oversensitive, and sometimes it can get out of hand, signaling over benign substances that it thinks are pathogens. It's a very common thing for your immune system to be overreacting. Basically what autoimmune diseases are is an overreactive immune system. And this is also what allergic reactions are as well. It's an overreactive immune system where your immune system will technically attack its own body. Your immune system will actually attack your body to try and help you. And sometimes it gets out of hand. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum counteracts the effects of nuclear factor kappa B in situations where your immune system is overreacting. This will preserve the life of the cells in your body, since the majority of cell death is related to NFKB activation. And that's why it's immunomodulating, because it'll modulate and fine-tune your immune system, and it'll tune it down when your immune system is overreacting, and it'll hype it up in situations where it's underreacting. Gynostemma is a very intelligent plant, almost has a mind of its own. Now, adaptogenic effects of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum. The adaptogenic effects are its ability to help your body react to external and internal circumstances. And the way it does this is through hormone modulation, balancing hormones to reach a state of equilibrium in the endocrine system, neurotransmitter modulation, balancing neurotransmitters to reach a state of mental equilibrium, and as we just spoke about, immune system modulation. Now, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has been shown to have a nootropic effect, meaning it increases BDNF signaling in the hippocampus, very similar to taurine, essentially protecting neurons, which improves your resilience to mental stress and fatigue. And increasing BDNF signaling also improves the growth of new neurons. Since essentially what BDNF is commonly referred to as the protein of the brain, and it is what is solely responsible for neuroplasticity. Essentially, the remolding and restructuring of new neural pathways and connections in your brain. Ultimately, it has the effect of increased memory formation and improved adaptation to stress. Now, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has been shown to have an antidepressant effect. With the BDNF increase, also comes along with an increase in monoamine levels in the brain, also an increase in new synapses for these monoamines as well. This is going to have a downstream antidepressant effect. Monoamines include neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, increasing your stockpile of serotonin and dopamine while also building new synapses is going to have an antidepressant effect. You're going to have more dopamine and serotonin to go around, improving your general sense of well-being. So here's a study right here, and it demonstrates the antidepressant effect. As you can see here, gypenosides exhibit antidepressant-like effects in mice, which may be mediated by the activation of BDNF, ERK, AKT signal pathway in the hippocampus. Moving on, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has very profound neuroprotective effects as well. This is actually caused by the polysaccharide GPP1. Some of the most profound neuroprotective effects in Gynostemma Pentaphyllum stem from a polysaccharide called GPP1. It's neuroprotective, blunts oxidative stress by increasing endogenous antioxidants in the body, such as glutathione and superoxide dismutase. This study shows the purification, characterization, and neuroprotective effects of a polysaccharide found in Gynostemma Pentaphyllum. Now we get into the fun part, steroidal glycosides. Steroidal glycosides are saponins. There are certain saponins in Gynostemma that take on a steroidal structure to it of various different steroidal hormones in the body. These are compounds that are one sugar molecule away from being a steroidal hormone. The body can easily use them to replace hormones, So once this sugar molecule is cleaved off by the bacteria in your colon, your body is then left with a active hormone that it could then use to replace hormones that is deficient in at its own discretion. Now, this isn't like injecting testosterone. This is a hormone in your body that your body can choose to absorb and use if it needs it. However, if you have adequate levels of testosterone, it will not increase testosterone even higher. These saponins will bring equilibrium to your body. If you're too high in one hormone or too low in another, it'll balance it out using these saponins by replacing whatever your body is deficient in. And it often blunts cortisol as well, bringing homeostasis to the endocrine system, helping your body to adapt to internal and external stress. And essentially, there's saponins for just about every hormone in the body. There's a saponin in Gynostemma for it. Gynostemma has been shown to be very effective at blunting cortisol, therefore lowering stress levels. Cortisol is one of the main stress hormones in the body and it actually causes you to store fat. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum modulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPAA, and this keeps the adrenergic hormones in balance. Ultimately, the saponins Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is going to balance cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and vasopressin. These glycidic saponins in Gynostemma Pentaphyllum modulate sex hormones. So ultimately will modulate your hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, HPGA, basically keeping sex hormones in balance. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has saponins that will replace or balance testosterone, DHT, dihydrotestosterone, DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, progesterone, prolactin, estrogen, and estradiol. Balancing these hormones will keep your sex hormones in balance, bringing resilience and equilibrium to the HPGA, hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis. Ultimately, balancing these hormones will have a benefit increasing sex drive, reproductive health and fertility, and fitness health as well. Increasing your testosterone levels will help with lean tissue growth, improves the growth of muscle, skin, bone, joints, tendons, and also leads to an increase in strength, endurance, recovery, and mobility in all of these tissues. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has a powerful effect at fat burning and metabolism. Increasing testosterone and these other sex hormones is going to help with fat burning and metabolism. And if you're low in these hormones, you will be out of whack and you will have an issue when it comes to burning fat, and your metabolism will be slower than it should be. Balancing out your sexual hormones will ultimately have an impact on not just your sexual health, but also your fitness health as well. And ultimately help with lean tissue growth, muscle, skin, bone, joints, tendons, leading in an increase in strength, endurance, recovery, and mobility in all of these tissues. It's going to help with fat burning and metabolism, your all-around energy system. Your energy levels are going to be improved dramatically once you get your sex hormones in check and balanced. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has saponins that are going to help with neurotransmitter modulation. They work as agonists for various monoamines and neurotransmitters in the brain. Pentaphyllum increases monoamine and neurotransmitter levels in the brain and body significantly, including serotonin, which is the antidepressant neurotransmitter, as well as catecholamines, such as dopamine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. This is going to have a profound effect on anti-fatigue and improve attention and focus, as well as a general sense of well-being. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum also increases the neurotransmitter GABA, and specifically GABA-A RA3 subreceptor. And GABA is the chief inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain, and it's a natural anti-anxiety and also improves sleep dramatically. Also, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum helps your brain and body adapt to high monoamine levels without collateral damage to the brain or body. So it mitigates the side effects and risk of excessive L-DOPA levels while retaining the beneficial effects. Sometimes when you have too high of monoamine levels, there can be an increase in resistance at the receptor site. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum helps mitigate this effect of resistance at the receptor site while retaining the benefits of having high levels of monoamines, such as antidepressant effects. And here's a study here that shows the gypenicides attenuate the development of L-DOPA-induced dyskinesia in a 6-hydroxydopamine lesioned rat model of Parkinson's disease. L-DOPA is the common treatment for Parkinson's disease. However, high levels of L-DOPA can commonly induce dyskinesia. So basically, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum inhibits this dyskinesia effect while allowing you to maintain high levels of L-DOPA and reap the benefits of attenuating Parkinson's disease, having the high levels of L-DOPA without the risk of dyskinesia. Dyskinesia is involuntary, erratic, writhing movements of the face, arms, or legs, or trunk. Restless leg syndrome is a very common one, and often having high levels of L-DOPA tends to lend itself to high levels of movement of the body and restless leg syndrome and certain muscle twitches and spasms. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum counteracts this effect of high levels of L-DOPA and dopamine. So moving on, with the increase of GABA levels in the brain, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is going to have profound anxiolytic effects, helping with anxiety, helping with stress relief, helping to calm the body and mind. And ultimately, it does this by regulating the GABA ARA3 receptors, as well as the serotonin 5-HT1A and the 5-HT2A receptors as well. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is going to have an effect on improving deep sleep, again by regulating the GABA ARA3 receptor and also regulating the serotonin receptors. It's going to lower blood pressure, improve deep breathing, and it does help you fall asleep much faster. It does calm the mind and body down before bed. It's a very good tea to drink before bed. I like to mix mine with chamomile sleep tea. They mix very well together and they help me fall asleep much faster. And Gynostemma Pentaphyllum naturally improves nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is a powerful vasodilator. It's going to help with muscle strength and recovery. It's going to help increase circulation and blood flow, which is going to tend to lend itself to improve brain health, of course, reducing risk for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. Nitric oxide is often associated with anti-aging, and it's going to improve oxygenation of the cells as well. Here's a list. These are the well-known nitric oxide benefits. Nitric oxide improves the cardiovascular system, improves strength of the heart's pumping mechanism. Nitric oxide improves opening of the blood vessels. It's going to have a vasodilation effect. Ultimately, it's going to lead to blood cell health. Nitric oxide improves nutrient exchange. It's going to improve the assimilation of nutrients in the body as well. Nitric oxide is going to improve your peripheral nervous system, promoting the body's natural rest state. It improves the respiratory tract, which improves lung health as well as metabolism. Nitric oxide helps with the central nervous system because it increases the blood flow and oxygenation of the brain. Nitric oxide helps with pain management and blood pressure regulation as well. Nitric oxide is linked with cell proliferation, reducing cell death, also increasing the formation of new blood cells. Nitric oxide improves the gastrointestinal tract health as well, strongly enhancing metabolism and also helping with nutrient absorption as well. Nitric oxide helps with immunology, inflammation regulation, and improved immunity. Nitric oxide helps with sexual health as well, male performance and female performance, since it increases blood flow to all parts of the body and to the sexual organs as well. It's going to have aphrodisiac qualities because it's going to increase blood flow to every part of the body. Nitric oxide supplements are commonly used in fitness, and that's because it's very powerful as a vasodilator, increasing pump and euphoria in the gym. Also, nitric oxide is linked with increased human growth hormone production as well, which is going to help with muscle recovery and fat loss. With those together, the vasodilation and the increase in human growth hormone production, both those in combination are going to increase muscle protein synthesis. The nitric oxide effect of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is profound, and it's one that I notice dramatically. And this is why I use it before the gym, because I notice a significant increase in pump. The antiplatelet effect, along with the nitric oxide production, has a very profound effect, increasing the blood flow to the muscles, which you feel at the gym. It improves contraction with concentric movements and allows for the muscle to fill up with blood much easier, which lends itself to a much more fulfilling exercise and much stronger muscle pumps. Ultimately, I get more out of the gym when I take this before it, and I get much more endurance as well. Another interesting thing about nitric oxide treats depression and anxiety, assisting GABA and serotonin to cross the blood-brain barrier, ultimately increasing your neurotransmitter levels significantly. And nitric oxide is a very powerful way to improve your body's function, Yeah, that's that for Gynostemma's nitric oxide effect. One of its major benefits. But again, there's hundreds of benefits to this herb, and we're going to move on. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum improves lung health. And in fact, this was the original traditional use of Gynostemma when it first made its way to Chinese medicine. The Chinese considered this a lung tonic and stated that it was very effective at increasing absorption of qi through the lungs. But ultimately, it's been scientifically proven to increase oxygen utilization as well and increase your VO2 output. It improves the respiratory tract, helping you to breathe better, getting much more oxygen as you breathe. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has a profound effect at protecting and improving your liver health. It's been proven to attenuate the progression of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It also prevents and fights liver cancers as well. It does this by increasing L-glutathione levels in the liver, which again, L-glutathione is the most powerful antioxidant in your body. It's going to help retain your liver's function. And if you're consuming drugs or pharmaceuticals, oftentimes these compounds, especially if they're methylated compounds, are processed in the liver, and this has a wear and tear effect on your liver. The more work your liver has to do to process certain compounds, the more you're going to want to benefit by taking Gynostemma Pentaphyllum to help improve your liver function and recuperate its natural glutathione levels. When you drink alcohol, when you take methylated compounds, your liver loses glutathione levels every time you do that. You're depleting your natural glutathione levels. So you want to do everything you can to replenish these levels, especially if you're drinking alcohol and especially if you're taking methylated compounds. Moving on, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is going to have a profound effect with your gut health. Again, it's a prebiotic. The saponins, polysaccharides, polyphenols, and flavonoids are all prebiotics. So it's going to feed the healthy bacteria in your gut, supports your healthy gut biome. Plenty of these compounds also act as fibers as well, helping to push toxins out of your system. And Gynostemma Pentaphyllum protects the gastrointestinal tract from damage caused by toxins. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum prevents ulcers. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum binds to and removes toxins in the digestive system. And Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is a very powerful digestive aid. It's going to relax the smooth muscle tissue in your digestive tract. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is known to stimulate regular healthy bowel movements and counteract constipation. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is extremely powerful with bile detox. It's been shown to be more effective than psyllium husk at binding to and removing dirty bile from the gallbladder, liver, and intestines. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is effective at improving your skin health. It's going to have natural anti-aging effects on the skin cells and even preventing damage due to sun exposure as well. Here's a little study backing this up. Results showed that Gynostemma Pentaphyllum extract prolongs viability of mouse dermal fibroblasts damaged by UVC light-induced oxidative stress. And it suggested that Gynostemma Pentaphyllum extract had potential therapeutic effects on dermal cell aging. And last but not least, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is an anti-ager, and in fact, quite possibly the best herb on the planet for anti-aging. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has been shown to stop and even reverse telomere erosion. Your telomeres are your strands of DNA, and at some point as you age, the ends of these strands begin to unwind and unravel. And as these strands unravel from each other, the more you age and the more your body ultimately breaks down, and the more your cells begin to die. So Gynostemma Pentaphyllum stops this fraying of your DNA, and it reverses telomere erosion. And there's really only been one other natural substance shown to do this as well, and that's astragalus, the very high potency astragalus extract. And especially as there's actually currently an astragalus shortage right now, it's become very, very expensive to get this extract. It's got to be a very high condensed potency extract of astragalus to have this effect of reversing telomere erosion. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum has been shown to be even more effective than astragalus at doing this, and that's extremely profound. So quite frankly, it is one of the few things on this planet that is proven to slow the age rate and preserves the body function and will improve youthful appearance and longevity. So very, very powerful herb, guys. Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is definitely no joke. I highly recommend it for anyone. Every single person on the planet needs to be taking this. Now, it's extremely cheap. You You get it at most Asian food stores. They'll have a tea for it, and I get mine at my Chinese market in the loose leaf tea section, and it's an amazing herb. As for side effects, there are only a few side effects to it, and that's why I think this herb really is for everyone, because there's not a whole lot of side effects to speak of. Because it's an adaptogenic herb, and it's something where you take it and your body will use it in the way that it needs, it doesn't really have an invasive effect on your body. It's not like caffeine where like you take it and it makes your body do something. More, it gives your body the tools that it could then use if it needs them or not. So, some side effects with Gynostemma Pentaphyllum include uncontrolled bleeding could be a side effect. If you get cut on Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, you're going to be bleeding a lot. It's kind of like if you've gotten cut after taking an aspirin. Because of the antiplatelet effects, it's very hard to stop the bleeding. So that's one possible side effect. You want to watch out for that. You want to try to not get cut, or it might be a hassle. Now, another side effect is possible nausea if your blood sugar is too low. If your blood sugar is too low, some people get nausea from that. Me, being someone who is an adept intermittent faster, I don't get nausea from having low blood sugars. I'm very used to it. But some people have reported getting nausea until they've eaten something after taking Gynostemma. Now, another possible side effect of Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is it's been shown to block the conversion of testosterone into DHT. Now, this is up for debate on whether or not this is a pro or a con, because dihydrotestosterone causes immediate strength and energy, and also spikes sex drive in men. It doesn't build muscle, but it causes immediate strength. However, dihydrotestosterone also causes aging, balding, and hair growth in undesirable areas and aggression in men. So DHT is ultimately the hormone responsible for aging in men. As men get older or wrinkly and they start to grow hair in undesirable areas of the body, some men, it's all gene specific, but some men will begin to go bald. This is all down to dihydrotestosterone. So DHT is what causes these undesirable effects in men. So to some people, blocking this might be a very good thing. Some people don't want high levels of DHT. However, others do want it. Some people like the idea of having that immediate strength and energy spike and sex drive. Now, to the extent that Gynostemma blocks DHT, there's not a whole lot covering it, but it is something to think about. I quite frankly think it's worth it. The pros far outweigh the cons with Gynostemma Pentaphyllum, and if it blocks DHT at all, it's not in a way that I personally notice in the gym. I personally feel just as strong. In fact, I feel stronger on Gynostemma Pentaphyllum than I do without it. So personally, I don't think it's big enough of a block to have a real impact on your gym results. That's just my opinion, and really it's up to you to make your decision on it. But ultimately, Gynostemma Pentaphyllum is, in my opinion, the most powerful herb on the planet, and quite possibly the most effective way to improve your health without spending a lot of money. The most affordable and easy and effective way to dramatically improve your health and quality of life, and ultimately add years onto your lifespan. So, highly recommended. Go out and get this. Add it to your diet. It tastes good. It's really easy to just throw it in some hot water and make a tea out of it. There's not a whole lot to it. So that's that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Go out and get this affordable herb. It'll dramatically change your life.